Thousands of people are being relocated to the UK after personal data was leaked of Afghans who supported British forces. We're expecting to hear from the Defence Secretary at 12:30. First, let's bring in our security and defence editor, Deborah Haynes. Deborah, breaking story this hour. What more can you tell us?
How does that even happen? The incompetence of the British government just never ceases to amaze me. It is truly incredible. Thousands of Afghan people have been secretly moved into the UK after a data leak. So what has happened here? The UK government, or somebody in the British service, has leaked information about Afghan people that were helping the UK government. Then when the Taliban took over, obviously they were made aware of this list or somehow obtained it. It was a serious data breach. And then the UK government tried to hide it and move all of those people into Britain to give them safe passage away from the Taliban. It is among the worst security breaches in modern British history. The cost of risk posed on the lives of those Afghanis, some who fought alongside the British forces until a chaotic withdrawal. We all know how crazy that was. About 4,500 Afghans and their family members have been relocated or were on their way to Britain under the previously secret scheme. Insane.
Yeah, so I'm actually outside the High Courts here in London, where a super-injunction has been lifted on the reporting about this data breach by the Ministry of Defence. And like you say, the Defence Secretary is going to be speaking to Parliament this afternoon, in a few minutes in fact. The breach itself is understood to have happened about 3 years ago, and yet it has...
3 years ago this happened. 3 years ago, and nobody knew about it until yesterday, today. Wild.
Been unable to be reported for all that time. A number of media organisations, including The Times, has been involved in trying to battle against this extraordinary secrecy by the government to prevent the reporting of what's happened. You'll know in the past there have been data breaches involving Afghans that have been trying to apply for a government scheme to come to move to the UK or receive support. These are Afghan nationals who...
Why does everything have to be a secret with this government though? Like, if they stuffed up, they can come out and say, hey, look, we've stuffed up. This is what we're doing to fix it. Why does everything have to be hidden in secret, done behind closed doors? You look more shady when you're hiding things, and we always find out eventually.
Either directly worked for the British military in Afghanistan or indirectly were involved. For example, there are Afghan special forces that were trained by the British military. They worked for the Afghan government at the time, but obviously since the collapse of that Western-backed government...
And I know there's going to be a lot of backlash to this from a certain demographic where they're talking about anti-immigration, we don't want these people in our country, but these guys helped the UK government. They helped our British forces. And then our government put all of their lives at severe risk. Just think about that for a second before people jump to conclusions and say, we don't want, 4,500 Afghans and they're dangerous and et cetera, et cetera. Think about what they have done for the UK. What they did for the British Army, and then what the British Army has done to them by putting them at serious, serious risk.
Back in 2021 and the return of the Taliban to power, their lives have been put at risk and the government has been under huge pressure to relocate them. They had a scheme that was designed to provide assistance or to relocate the Afghan nationals that were deemed legitimate to qualify for this relocation. And my understanding is that there was a long list of more than 20,000 names of Afghan nationals that have been applying for this relocation scheme, and this list was unfortunately on an email sent out, and the Ministry of Defence effectively lost control of who had access to that email. Now, I've not been intimately involved in the last few years of battling against the super-injunction, but there are reporting now that talks about the implications of that. There is a law firm, Barings Law, which is representing, it says it's going to be, it is representing around 1,000 individuals who have been impacted by this leak of information, and they are pursuing legal avenues. I've been told.
Well, so once they get, or if they're in the UK, or once they get to the UK, then they're going to basically come after the government for putting their lives at risk. So not only are the government going to have to cover relocation costs, housing costs, all of that, they're also going to have to pay these people because of this data breach.
By one source that the cost of all of this has been estimated for the government to be up to £7 billion. Now, it seems unlikely that figure will be the ultimate figure that comes out. But clearly, the government is going to be responsible for not only the mishandling of this information, but also dealing with the potential harm. The law firm Barings Law has said that there is a serious risk of violence to those whose names are on this list that was. And
that's the thing now. You know, is there some retaliation? Are the Taliban going to come after the people that were on the list? Are they going to go into the UK and try and attack or poison, or who knows what? Are they going to chase down the people on this list? Who knows what's going to happen now?
Mishandled, it would seem. And so this is clearly, it's a long-running crisis that not just this government but previous governments have been aware of and have clearly been trying to keep out of the public domain. Presumably they would argue for sound security reasons, but clearly that it would seem that those reasons have fallen away, and the public interest of knowing about this security breach has been deemed to be the most important thing. So we will be hearing from the Defence Secretary in a few minutes, and I'm sure he will give more details about this. It's clearly not just hugely concerning for all of those Afghan nationals whose names were on the leaked email, the list on that leaked email, but clearly as well for the government, it's funding, the taxpayers' money, which clearly are now going to have to be involved in compensating for the blunder and potentially the relocation of even more Afghan nationals. Obviously, you're hearing there have been many that have been relocated already as a result of this.
So,
Deborah, I'm interested in the impacts of
many have been relocated already, which means some have not been relocated. How do you find those people that haven't been relocated? What is the safety of those people that haven't been relocated? Who knows?
This, particularly on the individuals involved, the Taliban back in power following the fall of the Western-backed government, then the leak of this data that's in the public realm to some degree, certainly for a year before it's really acted on by the British government. Are we aware of any victims of violence, or potentially even worse, against these 20 or so thousand named individuals in Afghanistan? And then also the other thing that strikes me is the challenges that these people may have in leaving the country to be able to access ways of getting to safety, getting to the UK through this scheme.
Yeah, it's a really good question, and these are going to be clearly.
Well, I wonder if, the plan wasn't obviously to bring them into the UK, but once you release a list of 20,000 people, then they set up a scheme to relocate them, and they've done 4,500 of them, but the rest of them now, and because this news story is breaking, Taliban will have the list. How do you live in Afghanistan under a Talibani government knowing that you were on the list, your name's on the list, your family's name's on the list? How do you get a job? How do you hide? It's just a very, very tough spot to be in. And all because you helped the West during the war.
Questions that you can imagine the Defence Secretary will face as well. A source that I've spoken to who has been involved in these proceedings says that it is thought that a small number of individuals known to have been on the list have been killed. It's not clear if that was as a direct result of their names being on this list. It's also not clear who actually has access to the information. Clearly, the UK government, once it became aware that this breach has occurred, has been working to try to contain the damage. But once the control of the information has been lost, then clearly there are implications for individuals that is out of the control of the UK government.
Really not what you can do, right?
But I understand that everybody on that list has now been informed that their data has been breached.
Thanks for
but given
letting me know.
that this leak happened 3 years ago, it's taken a long time for that admission to be made to them. And so you can imagine that this is only the beginning, really, of a very long and difficult...
So was the list leaked 3 years ago and they're only getting told about it now? Or if the list is leaked, you would instantly want to let them know that the list has been leaked, right? Because if you don't, there's going to be problems.
And dangerous, potentially, process.
Thousands of people.
Wild story. Yeah, let me know what you think in the comments about this, but this is a very dangerous, stupid situation from the British government here. There's going to have to be, someone has to lose a job or resign or something here. Crazy situation. But yeah, let me know what you think about this whole data leak and moving the Afghanis into England, and the fact that it's been swept under the carpet and hidden from the public for 3 years. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one. Cheers.